stop sign back there?
I did?
You nearly got hit, too. What's your name?
Tim Rogers.
I'll tell you what, Tim. I won't give you a ticket. Instead, I'll give you a pass if you read this book. You learn how to ride that machine, like those guys.
Here they come, the Devil Riders, roaring across the screen. Blood, guts, and burning rubber.
Stop! He's out on his feet!
Dixie, get out of this. All right, if he's down, keep him down. Oh.
What the hell's that doing here? Aren't you gonna even try to stop them?
No, baby, that's the way it is.
I'm gonna whip your... You and who else, bitch?
Pull it out. Bad, baby, bad. You got it out. Oh, get in her eyes.
Where the action is. See Devil Riders in color.
There was once a time when animals were the most common form of transportation, but they had their drawbacks. When motors were invented, it didn't take long before we put them on wheels. The motorcycle. Even Grandpa rode one. But unfortunately, safety was an afterthought. Now, half a century later, we've learned a lot about transportation. And what's more, a lot about safety. Someday, you may decide to operate a motorcycle. And when you drive your car, you'll be sharing the road with motorcycle. In either case, there are some things you should know about motorcycling that can make it a lot safer. That's what this film is all about.
Rock. The beat goes on.
Rock and roll. They called it a fad, but it's been around for 30 years now.
Come on, brother, get on up and help me find this groove.
From the early days of its modest beginnings, rock music has evolved to a multi-million-dollar industry. Rock music quickly became the voice of youth, a way to express the passion and the pain of those intense teenage years.
Summer breeze makes me feel fine. Rolling through the jazz from your mind.
It borrowed from country and western, from jazz, gospel music, and blues, incorporating them all in the unique and exciting sound called rock and roll.
Dressed up and playing.
Remember me? A while ago, I made a film called Easy Rider. Well, I'm here to say it's not so easy. I'm Peter Fonda. I've ridden bike for quite a few miles. Quite some time, too. It's a great way to get around. It's a good sport if you know what you're doing. It can be a quick ride to the hospital or even the graveyard, which are two good reasons why you should watch and listen to what this film has to say.
can compare with the thrill of a brand new bike. Those long days of wishing and waiting are finally over, and the proud new owner can look forward to enjoying his bike in many ways. For bicycling is a healthy, active sport enjoyed by almost everyone. Not only does it provide vigorous outdoor exercise, but it means quick, easy transportation to and from school. It's a nice, fast way of getting from one place to another. And it may even be a means of earning money. You're taking a lot of responsibility in owning and riding a bicycle, for you are now an operator of a wheeled vehicle. You are the automobile driver of tomorrow, and good, safe bicycle riders often turn out to be the best drivers.
Let's talk about clothes. There are some good reasons why the motorcyclist dresses differently than the car driver. The motorcyclist is not encased in steel, as is the car driver. Clothes provide the only protection from the elements. Wearing a helmet is essential. In fact, in many states, it's the law. The reasons are obvious. If a spill or collision should occur, the helmet is better designed to take the impact than an unprotected head. Nowadays, there are many kinds of helmets to choose from. First, the helmet should be labeled to meet safety impact standards. Secondly, make sure it fits snugly and can be securely fastened. If your helmet is getting old or has received a hard impact, send it to be inspected by the manufacturer before relying on it for protection. Your head is worth the expense of the best protection you can buy. Throw out a helmet that isn't protecting you. Shields provide protection for the eyes and allow air to flow freely to prevent fogging. The brighter your helmet, the easier you are to see. Reflector tape or decals can also make you more visible. And remember, passengers need helmets too. Never take a ride on a motorcycle as a driver or passenger without the proper headgear.
If you notice what people wear, you'll see how they dress to match the weather. Take your teacher, for instance. On pleasant, cool days in the spring and fall, she may wear a light woolen jacket or sweater when she comes to school. On warmer days, she wears light, airy clothes to help her keep cool. And in winter, she wears warmer clothes. When she goes out, she wears a heavy woolen coat to keep her warm. Yes, your teacher dresses to match the weather. In winter, the policeman at the school corner dresses in a warm woolen coat, too.
Here's another friend of mine, Ryder Evel Knievel.
If I look like I'm rigging up for a trip into outer space, you're right. I don't swing a leg over a bike for a trip to the neighborhood drugstore unless I've got on leathers, boots, and gloves. They've saved a lot of hide, especially in accidents like mine. And goggles and a face shield are a must. They may save you from being blinded if you're riding a motorcycle behind an automobile. And a helmet? Nobody should ever ride a motorcycle without a helmet. I never do. 3 out of 4 fatalities on a motorcycle have resulted from head injuries. If the rider had been wearing a helmet, he may be alive today. Another thing that's important, don't get on a strange bike without checking the brake, the gas, and especially your rear view mirror.
You have to get the feel of a new bike, too, before you hit the road. Get familiar with the controls. For example, on some models, the foot brake is located on the right, and on others, the left. Balance varies from model to model, too. And these are things you ought to have a feeling for before you tangle with traffic. If you're an experienced rider, that should make sense. If you're a beginner, don't do any of these things, not on your own. You should be learning to ride under the supervision of a pro. Training is available through schools, police departments, and motorcycle dealers. By the way, 3 out of 5 bike accidents happen to beginners during their first 6 weeks of riding.
Boy, this is slick.
But hey, in case you're thinking that Knievel and I are a couple of nervous old ladies, let's not forget the kind of thing that Knievel has done.
Whose mind is possessed. There is no escape from the power of the occult. Stalking like a hunter, it finds its prey. Crash! The movie where death is in the driver's seat.
It isn't as hairy as this, but it still takes a lot of rider to handle a freeway. You've got a lot going for you on a bike if you really use it. If a car cuts you off, your braking and downshift will stop you much more quickly than a car. Same goes for superior acceleration and maneuverability on a bike that can get you out of bad spots fast. Take a good look. Your controls are positioned for almost instant response if your hands and feet are where they belong. Brakes, clutch, downshift, maneuverability. Acceleration. And for visibility, there's nothing like it. 360 degrees of unobstructed vision if you keep your eyes open and know when and where to look.
Danced to the beat, copied the fashions, and reveled in the rebelliousness, creating heroes like the world had never seen.
Is there any intention for you to go back to America and stay there?
We'd like to go back.
You know.
Well, we wouldn't stay there. We love England.
Let's go back to those early days and trace the development of rock music, its roots, its significance, and of course, its superstars. Rhythm and blues had been around since the 20s, but lacked exposure and acceptance by the mass audience. Great black musicians like Bessie Smith, John Lee Hooker, and Hughie Ledbetter created a unique musical style, earthy realism with a simple message and a strong, throbbing beat, all the elements that would become part of rock and roll. In the 30s and 40s, most of America was still listening to the big band sounds of Cab Calloway, Woody Herman, Harry James, Tommy Dorsey, and others. It was easy to listen to and fun to dance to, but with its elaborate arrangements, the music was pretty sophisticated. A new generation of teenagers was ready for something much more basic.
Linda is not a natural loner. She's outgoing and friendly. She almost asked her new girlfriend to come home with her today. They could play records or watch TV. But again today, like every other day, she is alone.
With the arrival of Bill Haley on the music scene in 1955, the throbbing beat of the early black artists finally reached the ear of the world's youth. They called it rock and roll, and they loved it.
So you're used to this sort of thing, aren't you? Well, we quite often have people come to meet us like that, but I think this is the most enthusiastic reception I've ever seen.
Haley took Shake, Rattle, and Roll by Joe Turner, a black artist, and made it the first rock and roll hit. The music of Otis Blackwell helped rock and roll grow from a small swell to a giant wave. In a recent concert, Blackwell performed one of his hits from the 50s, All Shook Up. Over the years, Blackwell has had a successful career as a composer and a recording star. But it was a white man from the South who took Blackwell's music and with it established himself as the all-time king of rock and roll. Elvis Presley, with his suggestive sneer and his provocative gyrations, added another dimension to rock, sex appeal. He was shocking, he was outrageous, he was without a doubt the most exciting performer to have come along in 20 years, and teenagers everywhere idolized him. A market had been created, and other personalities began to emerge.
She's the one that deals the more, well, bebop, she's my baby.
Gene Vincent followed in Presley's footsteps, sending young hearts soaring. Jerry Lee Lewis pulled out all the stops with his wild piano playing.
On a three-lane highway, it's good practice to ride the middle lane. That means if there's trouble ahead, you can choose between right and left lanes to duck into. And stick to the side of the lane you're riding to avoid oil slicks, which are usually concentrated in the center of the lane. One thing a bike doesn't have over a car is good traction in oil, snow, or gravel. The left side of the lane is usually better than the right, of course, because a car driver can see you in his rearview mirror, while the right side of a car is generally a blind spot. But even more important, in the right or left side of the lane, you can see ahead of the car in front of you. You should be able to see at least 3 cars ahead at all times. That really counts when traffic gets rough. And forget about slot riding, man. Even if you seem to have plenty of space, that hole in between cars can disappear a lot faster than you can get through it. But if all this has you wondering if maybe you ought to sell your bike, here's an interesting hunk of information. Motorcycle police of the Los Angeles Department ride by the book, or if they don't, they're just not on the motorcycle squad anymore. They follow the rules, and they've put together a safety record of less than 18 accidents per million miles ridden. That's compared with 27.9 accident miles driven by the department's fleet of patrol cars, which is almost 10 less accidents for bikes than cars for every million miles.
locked behind walls of concrete and steel, guarded by barbed wire and guns in a tropical hell. They call it the Big Dollhouse. Meet the girls of the Big Dollhouse. They're young, they're beautiful, and they're killers. There has never been a motion picture like The Big Dollhouse.
Little Richard carried on the black tradition and set toes tapping from coast to coast. In the footsteps of those pioneers came other stellar personalities. 4 young lads from Liverpool picked up rock's beat, gave it a brand new look, and added their own distinctive harmonies. They called themselves the Beatles. In the 50s, kids swooned over Elvis Presley and danced a twist along with Chubby Checker. In the 60s, it was the Beatles. With their long hair, Cockney accents, and cocksure manner, they captured the hearts of a whole new generation of teens. At airports, concert halls, and hotels, they were pursued by adoring fans who fainted at the sight of them and fought over scraps of sheets the Beatles had slept on. The Beatles were a phenomenon, and the press scrambled to find out just who these young upstarts were.
Ringo, George, John. Can we have the last John? Any last questions?
How many are bald if you have to wear those big?
All of us. I'm bald.
Oh, we're all bald.
Don't tell anyone, please.
I'm deaf and dumb, too. You hope to get a haircut at all?
No, thanks. I had one yesterday.
That's no lie.
They were irreverent, unpredictable, unconventional, and talented. Even the conservative establishment recognized it, honoring them with one of Britain's highest civilian awards.
Well, they got that right. Go round and round.
Eric Burdon and the Animals were one of many groups to come out of England during the mid-60s, part of a movement known as the British Invasion.
All right, bring it.
Hi, Dad.
Hi, Brian.
At a time like this, you probably don't care that we naturally carbonate our beer.
Because the king of beer is the one.
Take on a six-pack.
Like no other.
Some things are a sure bet.
Good enough to share the same.
Let's serve him something special.
You've said it all.
No question about it.
And a lot more.
It shows that motorcycles can be safe. So let's do a quick double take of how it can be that way with you. Here's a motorcycle safety test. Make sure you know the right answers before you get back on a bike. Question number 1. Protective clothing like boots, goggles, leathers, and helmet are strictly for beginners. An experienced rider does not need them. True or false? The answer is false. The more experienced a rider, the better he knows that he does not belong on a bike unless he is dressed to protect himself against that accident that can always happen. Question number 2. If you are a good rider, it is okay to hop aboard any bike and take off. True or false? The answer is false. It's important to check out a bike thoroughly. Brakes, gas, lights, handling, the works before you hit the road.
Life was simple, and so was rock and roll. But the audience is more sophisticated now, and so is the music.
Play the keyboard a little bit more.
Artist Todd Rundgren is also a top audio engineer, and the electronic influence in his music reflects the new technology of the 70s.
Let me hear you together for a second.
This is a sound check, a time-consuming yet important procedure that occurs before every live concert. Each instrument, amplifier, and speaker is tested and then balanced, so the total mix of sounds the audience hears is just right.
You know, we did listen to some of the tape. Mostly the background instruments are not high enough and the voices are too high. You know, just there's not enough, can't hear enough of the rhythm instruments.
Rock has come a long way since Fats Domino sang about Blueberry Hill. It's now an international language that encompasses many different styles of pop music. Where will it go from here? Todd Rundgren's electronic music is one direction.
Where do I think rock is going? Well, I think a significant move would be for them to figure out another name for modern popular music as played by all these newly electrified musicians. Rock, or what people call rock, I think the immediate future will be pretty uninteresting, and then in the long run, possibly music will, as far as I'm concerned, re-legitimatize itself through artists striving to be creative rather than simply take care of their, you know, make a living, as it were.
Betty Jo, Shirley, Tim, and a few others are going home with Carl. Carl's mother and father both work. They have a good-sized supply of wine, beer, and other alcoholic beverages in the house. They'll never miss a little wine and a few cans of beer. Well, this is quite an afternoon. Pete is celebrating his 18th birthday. Today, he thinks he is a man and is drinking more than he should. Betty and Pete have been going steady, and he's decided to go for a drive with Betty. She's frightened and doesn't want him to drive, but Pete is full of false security. He believes he is sharp, daring, skillful, and in full control. Little did Pete know how untrue this was. But let Betty tell you herself.
I begged Pete not to drive, But this made him mad and even more determined to do what he wanted. There was this man on a bicycle. He didn't have a chance. I can still hear the thud and scream as he was hit. Then the sirens, the ambulance. Pete was not hurt physically, but his chance for a good life was smashed. Drunk driving involving bodily injury or death is a felony. Pete is serving a term in prison as a convicted felon. Our life together, our plans and dreams were destroyed in less than a second. Pete wants me to wait for him, but a 1 to 5 or 10 year sentence is a long, long time. And then...
Even the cops couldn't tame the Switchblade Sister. Meet the toughest gang of teenage girls ever to slash their way across a motion picture screen. Their parents didn't want them. Their teachers were scared of them. Even the cops couldn't tame them. Switchblade Sisters.
You're a chicken. Say it! I lost my eye for this gang, remember?
Go away! Two teenage wildcats, both hung up on the same guy. One of them had to go the hard way. Switchblade Sisters is a story of today and maybe a little bit of tomorrow. Rated R.
Okay, you want me out? You're gonna have to fight me.
Okay, that's about it. Have a good trip. But don't ride too easy.